Hi, I'm Luke from Play Psychology, and I just thought that I would give you a little introduction to who I am so that you can have a sense of who you're working with if you're coming to see me. Yeah, I think it's only fair that I tell you a little bit about me before you decide to come and join me to work. My journey to psychology is a long and windy one. I studied a number of psychology subjects 30 years ago at the University of Technology, Sydney, while pursuing a Bachelor of Arts and Laws. I fell in love with the depth and breadth of what we know about the mind, as well as an appreciation for the ongoing mysteries of human nature that we're still coming to understand. Since that time, I've had a constant fascination with both the hard, objective science of the mind, as well as a multi-layered uniqueness of each person's experience. So after university, I continued private study in psychology, constantly learning about the many varied therapy techniques designed to integrate the psyche and facilitate healing and meaning to our lives. At that time, I was a lawyer with a major international law firm, and after experiencing the physical and emotional burnout that environment guaranteed, I sought my own psychologist and had the great privilege of spending all that personal time understanding myself more and intimately kind of connecting to who I am and reaping the rewards of an enduring sense of comfort, safety, meaning, and well-being. I bring this lived experience into my work and endorse this principle as encouraged by the National Mental Health Commission's Lived Experience Workforce Guidelines. And so, being so moved by this experience, I decided to pick up the study and put it into practice. And I decided to change careers. And so in 2008, I commenced postgraduate study in psychology at Monash University. And I completed my honours research thesis in 2012 at RMIT University in Melbourne, where I did a research study on attachment and mindfulness. And around that time, also engaged in attachment related study with Harvard professor and associate clinical director at Harvard Medical School, Daniel P. Brown, who took me on as a student for about 15 years. I primarily practice from a psychodynamic or attachment focused paradigm and integrate this with long standing research investments in interpersonal neurobiology and integral psychotherapy. I have training in a range of other commonly adopted approaches, including cognitive behavioral therapy, acceptance and commitment therapy, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing for trauma, mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, mentalization therapy, schema therapy, narrative therapy, and dialectical behavior therapy, which is often used for personality issues. I have completed the certificate in psychedelic therapies and provide trauma-informed care to people undergoing medicine-assisted therapy for advanced psychological complaints which are treatment resistant. I have experience with a range of presentations, including depression, anxiety, adjustment issues, acute stress, PTSD, and developmental trauma, relationship challenges, personality concerns, dissociative disorders, men's issues, stress and burnout in workplace injuries, life transitions, parenting adjustments, and spiritual emergencies. I've worked in a range of settings, including private clinics with military and veteran communities, in remote communities with Indigenous communities and disadvantaged communities. I've worked in telehealth settings and had done some work in psychiatric hospitals. And in all of these roles, I've worked across a vast array of human concerns from everyday worries and challenges all the way to complex mental health disorders. I've found that regardless of the gravity or urgency of the difficulties we face, a strong and compassionate therapeutic relationship is an indispensable gateway to healing and recovery. So I prioritize a sense of familiarity and unconditional positive regard for everyone that gives me the privilege of working with them on their innermost sense of self. So while that speaks to the soul of psychology, I'm also informed by the science and I use evidence-based practices which have been shown to make a difference. I adopt an integrative approach where I draw on a range of therapies to suit the particular issues raised in a session or across the therapy with a particular client. I also have a practice and research focus on parenting relationships from an attachment lens, and I'm trained, as I mentioned, in Associate Clinical Professor Daniel Brown's three-pillar model for treating attachment disturbances and the related ideal parent protocol. I'm currently building a virtual reality platform for the Ideal Parent Protocol, which uses avatars of key figures to attempt to have an immersive environment for dealing with reprocessing wounding from attachment related schemes. I'm in the process of negotiating with a range of global academics and clinicians to research institutes in the States to complete a Doctor of Philosophy thesis on ketamine assisted psychotherapy, which draws on my prior research and primarily aims to establish a standardization of psychotherapeutic interventions for ketamine assisted therapy to provide addition to the absent evidence base for evaluating psychotherapeutic contributions to this emerging paradigm. I work with a client-focused and trauma-focused approach that seeks to affirm your inherent strengths and values and considers you the authority on your life. I'm committed to psychological safety and work to maintain an inclusive environment for all identities and cultures. I've worked across all diverse groups, including men, First Nations people, members of the LGBTQI community, and those who consider themselves living with a physical or neurological or developmental disability. I seek to affirm and validate the unique experiences that every person brings to their therapy and try to build a container of respect and dignity which is dependable and is a crucible for healing. So that's a lot about me and how I work, but of course there's also a whole other me that lives when I'm not working. I'm a father to a bright and cheerful boy who keeps me honest and is the best teacher I've ever had. You know, who knew parenting could count as professional development? I'm also a musician who plays and records with guitar and drums. I'm a dedicated meditator with about 15 years of regular practice under my belt and a sense of all the mental and emotional brightness that comes with that commitment. I also run a group that focuses on integral philosophy of the US polymath Ken Wilber. And I have a passion for craft beer, and I've spent thousands of dollars collecting rare brews from around the world to cellar at home and share with other brewing nerds that I've connected with over the years. So, look, I know choosing someone to work with can be a daunting task. So, I hope that if you found this account welcoming, we'll have the chance to get to know each other and work on enhancing your life in all the many ways you're hoping for. You can reach me at hello@placepsychology.com.au and call me on the phone number on the website. And I offer a free 10-minute chat where we can talk about whether or not we want to work together. Thanks for looking at Place Psychology and reaching out to me, and I hope to connect with you soon.